go by 2 more. Yeah, that's her, coming out.
Who's that man?
I don't know who that is.
Come on, move it.
Okay, wait. He has to have taken her.
All right.
That's your man.
We'll have some guys look into.
The movie opens with a gripping scene. Detective Patterson, who is in the back seat of a car, is seen interrogating a man with aggressive methods. He demanded information about the whereabouts of a missing woman. Eventually, the man breaks down and confesses that the woman is dead. The narrative then rewinds 8 hours earlier, where we see Will and Lisa Spann, who are an estranged couple driving through the city toward Lisa's parents' home in Emerson, Georgia. The tension in the car is palpable. Recently, Lisa had admitted to having an affair and needed time away to clear her head. Will Spann, though hurt, reassures her of his forgiveness and thanks her for her honesty. Breaking the silence, he tentatively asks if she would miss him while she's away. As the conversation continues, a fuel alert flashes on the dashboard. Lisa notes they're just 15 minutes from her parents' home, but Will Spann insists they need to stop at a gas station. The couple pulls into a station around 9:30 a.m. While he refuels, Lisa heads into the store to get some water. Just as she leaves the store, the cashier calls her back, prompting her to turn just as a truck pulls up outside. Meanwhile, Will, having completed his call, glances toward the store to see if Lisa was coming. However, the truck blocks his view. Moments later, Will enters the store to check on Lisa, but she's nowhere to be found. He searches the restroom and asks the cashier if he's seen a woman matching Lisa's description. The cashier denies seeing her. Growing anxious, Will Spann checks the back of the building and questions nearby drivers, but no one has seen her. He leaves a voice message on Lisa's phone, asking where she's gone and why she left without informing him. Unable to shake his growing sense of unease, Will Spann dials her number again, but it goes straight to voicemail. Returning to the store, he confronts the cashier, who insists he hasn't seen Lisa. Frustrated, he questions people in the parking lot again, but none can provide any helpful information. Desperate, he decides to contact the police. Detective Patterson answers the call and inquires about the timeline of events. Will Spann explains that Lisa has been missing for about 20 minutes. Patterson suggests she might have bumped into an old friend, but he is unconvinced, asserting that Lisa wouldn't vanish without notifying him. The detective mentions the department is short-staffed but promises to send someone over as soon as possible, advising Will to stay at the gas station. However, Will Spann can't stay put. He drives toward Lisa's parents' house, scanning the roads for any sign of her. He arrives at their home around 10:30 a.m., calling out for Lisa in the hope that she might have somehow made it there. Her parents, Barry and Anna Adams, are puzzled to see him without Lisa and grow alarmed when he recounts her disappearance. Barry's initial suspicion that they might have argued on the way frustrates Will, who assures them that everything was fine during the drive. He asks them to contact Lisa's friends to see if she's with anyone, then heads back to the gas station to continue his search. Returning to the station, Will Spann is overwhelmed by the surreal nature of the situation. Searching Lisa's belongings still in the car, he reflects on a happier time when they were planning a boat trip. Although they seemed content, he recalls Lisa appearing troubled and confiding that she felt emotionally distant. Snapping back to reality, Will Spann notices Detective Patterson arriving. The detective introduces himself and questions him about Lisa's disappearance, learning about her parents and her belongings. Patterson and Will Spann enter the store, where Patterson asks the cashier, Oscar, for CCTV footage. Oscar claims the cameras have been out of order for a while. Disappointed but undeterred, Patterson takes Lisa's laptop and invites Will to the station. However, he declines, preferring to stay at the gas station in case Lisa returns. Determined to find answers, Will Spann continues searching the area. Outside the store, he sees that one of the security cameras was functional. Confronting Oscar, he points out that one camera appears to be working. When Oscar dismisses his observation, he loses patience, grabbing the cashier and threatening him until Oscar reluctantly hands over the storage device for the CCTV footage. With the device in hand, Will Spann hurries to the police station, hoping the footage will reveal the critical clue needed to uncover Lisa's whereabouts. The clock is ticking, and every moment counts as Will Spann and Detective Patterson work to unravel the mystery of Lisa's sudden and inexplicable disappearance. At the police station, Detective Patterson got an analyst to examine the device Will Spann had retrieved. As the footage played, he shared his suspicions that Oscar might be connected to Lisa's disappearance. The footage revealed Lisa walking out of the gas station store. A man appeared to call her over, and they spoke briefly before he led her to a car and opened the door. However, the view was obstructed when the truck pulled up. By the time the truck drove off, both Lisa and the car were gone. The realization of what had transpired prompted Patterson to call Will into another room for a private discussion. At around 12:15 p.m., in his office, Patterson questioned Will about the man in the footage, asking if he recognized him. Will Spann didn't. Patterson then asked if Lisa had any close friends in Emerson. Will Spann admitted that Lisa rarely discussed her friends, which Patterson found unusual. Shifting the focus, Patterson inquired about their marriage. Will, though initially defensive, confessed that their relationship was strained. Lisa had been going through challenges, and they had agreed she needed time alone with her parents to figure things out. He emphasized his support for her despite the difficulties. He also clarified that he lived in Manchester, New Hampshire, and worked as a real estate developer. Patterson probed further, asking if anyone might have a grudge against them or if he had life insurance on Lisa. Will, sensing suspicion, countered that he wouldn't have brought evidence to the police if he were involved. Before leaving, he handed Patterson a photograph of Lisa. Returning to Lisa's parents' home, he was disheartened to find she was still missing, despite an all-points bulletin being issued. He showed Anna and Barry a picture of the man from the gas station footage. They recognized him immediately as Knuckles, their longtime handyman who was well acquainted with Lisa. Anna also identified the car Knuckles had entered and recalled seeing it at a location called Archer Grove. Wasting no time, Will Spann headed there. On his way, Will called Patterson to apologize for his earlier behavior but refrained from mentioning the lead about Knuckles. He feared Patterson might intervene and delay his efforts. Arriving at Archer Grove at 2 p.m., the area appeared abandoned. Armed with a crowbar, he bypassed the fence and peeked through a window, spotting Knuckles hastily packing a bag. Quietly entering the building, he confronted Knuckles, demanding to know where Lisa was. Knuckles initially denied any involvement, prompting Will to strike him with the crowbar. After a struggle, Knuckles admitted he hadn't wanted to leave Lisa with Frank but claimed Frank had forced him. Before revealing more, Knuckles grabbed a hammer and swung at Will, who dodged and retaliated. As the fight continued, Knuckles reached for a gun, but Will Spann overpowered him. Finally, Knuckles confessed and agreed to take Will to Frank. Securing Knuckles with duct tape, Will Spann forced him into his car's trunk and drove off. Meanwhile, Patterson visited the gas station to question Oscar, only to learn his shift had ended. Patterson warned the other cashier that Oscar needed to report to the station or risk the store being shut down. In the meantime, while driving toward the location Knuckles had provided, Will Spann's anxiety was growing. Going beyond limit, he sped by a police officer who pulled him over. Nervous, Will Spann explained he was rushing to handle a family emergency. However, the officer, noticing his behavior, insisted on checking the trunk. Panicking, he fled into the woods. The officer eventually reached the car and discovered Knuckles tied up in the trunk. By 3:30 p.m., Patterson was back at the Adams house, questioning them about a man named Clint. Anna confirmed Clint was the man Lisa had been having an affair with. Through flashbacks, Anna is seen urging Lisa to end the affair before things escalated. Another flashback shows Will Spann confronting Lisa, suspecting she wanted time away to pursue her own interests. Patterson explained that although Clint had sent Lisa several emails, a background check revealed no evidence linking him to her disappearance. Patterson also informed them that Knuckles had evaded capture and was not yet classified as a criminal. Meanwhile, Will Spann navigated through the woods, still determined to locate the site Knuckles had mentioned. Hearing a noise, he discovered a road with a parked four-wheeler nearby. He attempted to start it but was stopped by a man armed with a rifle. Will Spann explained that Knuckles had directed him to meet Frank but claimed his car had broken down. The man tried contacting Frank via walkie-talkie but failed, explaining that mobile phones didn't work in the area. Acting frustrated, Will pretended to turn back before the man pointed him toward the path to Frank's location. Continuing through the woods, Will Spann reached a campsite teeming with junkies. He spotted someone who he believed was Frank and decided to enter the main building. Carefully avoiding detection, he concealed himself behind an abandoned car. Suddenly, he noticed a man aiming a gun at him from the vehicle. Reacting quickly, he subdued the man, disarming him. As he moved deeper into the building, he spotted Oscar arriving at the campsite with another man. Determined, Will Spann pressed on, searching the rooms. In one, he encountered another man and was forced to take him out to continue his search. Back in town at about 5 p.m., Detective Patterson received word that Knuckles had been located. During questioning, Patterson pressed him about Lisa's whereabouts, but Knuckles claimed he couldn't remember. A flashback reveals that Knuckles had encountered Lisa at the gas station, where he asked her to help deliver an invoice to her parents. However, his true intentions were sinister. With the truck strategically blocking the view of the CCTV, Knuckles pulled a gun on Lisa, forced her into his car, and drove off. Meanwhile, Will Spann continued his frantic search. Inside one of the trailers, he stumbled upon a meth lab where several men were at work. Hiding behind a wall, Will Spann observed as Frank spoke with another man, Larry. Haunted by Lisa's memory, he resolved to act. He stepped forward, confronting Frank and Larry, and begged for information about Lisa's location. Both men denied knowing her. Frustrated, Will Spann demanded they open a nearby trailer. As Larry complied, Frank suddenly grabbed a gun and fired. Will Spann responded and fatally shot Larry while Frank fled. Moments later, a tense gunfight ensued between Will and Frank. He eventually managed to wound Frank, who collapsed. Approaching cautiously, Will found Frank dead before he could extract any answers. Moments later, a fire broke out in the room, forcing Will to leave. Devastated and still without answers, Will Spann was consumed by despair. Memories of Lisa surfaced, her apology during their car ride and the affectionate way she had once called him her favorite human. These recollections reignited his determination. Searching another part of the campsite, he checked every trailer, refusing to give up. At the same time, Patterson continued pressing Knuckles for Lisa's location. Eventually, Knuckles confessed that Lisa was dead. At the campsite, Will Spann encountered Oscar emerging from one of the trailers. Desperate, he pleaded with Oscar to reveal Lisa's location. Oscar insisted he hadn't kidnapped her but admitted he knew where she was. However, he demanded $20,000 in exchange for the information. Initially skeptical, Will Spann was convinced Oscar knew the truth when he showed him Lisa's phone. He agreed to pay but needed time to arrange the transfer. As they negotiated, an explosion ripped through the building, killing Oscar instantly as he was closest to the blast. Meanwhile, Knuckles continued his confession to Patterson. He revealed that Frank had been enraged when Knuckles brought Lisa to their hideout. In his fury, Frank decided to end it all. Knuckles admitted that he helped dig a grave, burying Lisa alive, but fled in fear that Frank might kill him too. Back at the campsite, police arrived to extinguish the fire. Patterson, determined to find Lisa, examined the area where Knuckles claimed she was buried. After locating the fresh grave, he removed the covering only to discover it was empty. Relieved yet puzzled, Patterson continued searching. At the same time, Will Spann, seated a few feet from another trailer, heard faint banging sounds. Following the noise, he broke down a door and found Lisa inside, alive but terrified and tied up. Overwhelmed with relief, he carried her out as Patterson called for the rescue team to tend to her. Later that evening, back at Lisa's parents' home in Emerson, Patterson visited Will to share the details of Knuckles' confession. While Knuckles admitted his role, he blamed Frank entirely for the kidnapping and the demand for ransom money. Patterson noted they might never uncover the full truth, as Frank was dead. He also mentioned that Will Spann had killed some of the men during his search but chose not to hold him accountable given the circumstances. Advising him to take care of himself, Patterson left. At the end, Lisa emerged from the house, thanking Will for rescuing her. She invited him inside, and as they walked toward the house, a soft rain began to fall. Sharing a warm smile, they stepped into the house together, their ordeal finally behind them.